You're listening to the Faith Breathed Hope podcast, episode number 82. Today I speak with keynote speaker, productivity coach Joe Rivera on the power of choice and how to regain your life after hitting rock bottom. Welcome to the Faith Breathed Hope podcast, where we gain inspiration and motivation from others who share their touching stories of renewing hope and discovering purpose in any circumstance. I'm your host, Christina Reisinger, and today we will be encouraged by another tremendously inspirational topic that will embolden you to release fear, begin taking small steps forward, and move into your God-given purpose to live and serve in this life. Join me for today's story. Hello, Joe, and welcome to Faith Breathed Hope. How are you today?
I'm doing great, Christina. Thanks for asking.
I'm so glad that you are here. I'm good, thanks. I'm so glad that you're here. And the first thing I always have everybody do is just tell a little something special about themselves. And we would love to hear what you can say and what you want to share.
Well, I am a God lover, and I'm also a diehard Met fan. So
Yes.
I know they don't kind of connect, but it's a connection for me. I mean, so I connect with both of them.
That's awesome. That's all. God works through all things, right? So I'm sure he can work through baseball too.
Yeah, I hope he can this year.
I'm sure so many sports fans are thinking that, right?
Right.
That's funny. Okay, so a little bit before we started recording, you and I had a chance to talk a little bit about your history, and you have quite a story. And I'd love for you to just start off by sharing your story with the audience.
Sure. I went from Park Avenue to Park Bench. I was emotionally, spiritually, and financially bankrupt. I lost everything. I mean, I even almost lost my life. I had my dream job as a stockbroker in the financial industry. I was 25 years old, making 7 figures a year. I thought I was on top of the world. And that's until I got introduced to opiates. And then my battle with substance abuse took off to the next level. And my life became completely unmanageable. I was risking my life every single day, Christina. I mean, I overdosed twice. The last time took 6 cans of Narcan to bring me back to life. That same night in the hospital, I'm laying down. I wake up, EKGs all over me. I pull off the electrodes off my body to go back out and use that same exact night. Talk about being powerless over drugs and alcohol, Mm-hmm. And along the way, throughout those years, I lost my way. I was born and raised Catholic, but I completely lost my way. I didn't even know what a relationship with God was. And through achieving sobriety, I mean, I was tired of writing my obituary. I wanted to begin creating my legacy. And when I was able to achieve sobriety, the one important tool, probably the most important for me, that I built through that into my toolbox throughout that time was spirituality and building a relationship with God, where today God's my father, my brother, my mother, my accountability partner, my everything, my best friend. And when I'm able to put that spirituality first, for some reason, man, doors just start opening, mountains get moved. And now today I'm able to have, I've created spiritual wealth, financial wealth, emotional wealth. And I mean, I've gained so much back in my life, but I think the most important part for me that I was able to gain was that spirituality.
Mm. Right. And I think a lot of times relationships can, when we talk about, yes, I believe in the Lord, I have faith in God. It's so much more than just standing up on Sunday and going into church and then leaving and living a completely different life. And you'll hear pastors talk about that, but it is about a relationship, about introducing God and inviting God into every aspect of your life, whether it is at home, in your family, or in business, or with your friendships or any other kind of relationships that you have, asking him to be the defining decision maker. And, kind of like you said, he's your best friend. You go up to him and say, hey, what do you think about this? And if he says no, then you don't do it, right? I want to back up just a minute, and I want to talk about the defining moment. So you had everything, or at least you thought you had everything. And then you were introduced into some form of temptation and in the form of drugs and alcohol. And as you know, we understand that they overcome you. And then you are going down this black hole into addiction. You said that you almost died twice. Is that right?
Yes, I overdosed twice.
And so it sounds like you had a really rough time of it. What was there a defining moment where you just automatically snapped out of it and you said, enough is enough? I can't do this anymore. You mentioned you were tired of writing your own obituary. I'm sure that people that loved you, your friends, your family, were always afraid that maybe one day you wouldn't wake up. Can you talk a little bit about that moment that led you back to the Lord and helped you start deepening that relationship?
Sure. So I had my sister one weekend invited me to a self-help event. And that was the weekend that really changed my life. Something clicked, at that event. I looked at my sister, she looked at me, and we both started crying. She knew exactly what I was going to say. And then the words came out. The words her and my family were probably waiting to hear for over a decade. I said, I don't want to do this anymore. I'm tired of living a shell of myself, and that's what I was saying. I mean, I was just literally tired of writing my obituary, because that's what I was doing. I was writing my death certificate. Mm-hmm. And if I didn't have that turning point in my life, I probably wouldn't be here having this interview right now. But God had a different way for me, a different path.
Right. And so you said that you were tired of doing that. What is your family close to God? Is that why you decided to start leaning on God and focusing on God instead of, and I don't want to get completely into this story of addiction, because there's so much that we could talk about right there. But what I do know of addiction and what other people probably know of addiction is it is something that just grabs you and holds you in its clutches. It is a stronghold that puts you in a space to where you cannot move one way or another. So you have to get out of it. And that is making the decision of yourself and saying, hey, I'm tired of this. But, you said that you wanted to deepen your relationship with God. So that's a secondary decision. The first decision is, hey, I want to get out of this. And the secondary decision is, I want to do it with the Lord. Now, coming from me, I'm a Christian, and I believe 100% the only way that you can get out of things is with God's help. But I would love for you to talk a little bit about that idea of, hey, I've realized not only do I need to get out of this space, but I want to get in deeper with God.
Yeah, no, that's a great question. And for me, yes, I was born in a family. I was born and raised Catholic. And like I said, along the way, I kind of lost my way, right? I mean, I thought the only thing, a relationship with God back then for me was Our Father, Hail Mary, asking for forgiveness when necessary, and I lost my mom right before I got sober. I had lost my mom, and that's where it really took a turn. That's where the overdoses kind of occurred. And throughout this process of achieving sobriety, I realized that what's helped me be able to overcome the mourning era and having to go through mourning, because we all go through that when we lose someone, right? But what really was able to be the change for me was when I was able to achieve sobriety, and I was able to literally feel my mom's spirit and know that she's with me. And that was powerful. I mean, probably the most powerful experience I've ever gone through, to know that, yeah, I might have lost her physically, but she's with me spiritually every single day. That has to come from somewhere. And it has to come from a higher power that's higher than me, supernatural type, and it only, for me, my higher power was God, and I feel that was God's way of letting me know that, number one, my mom is okay. And number two, that he's always with me. He's always got my back, even at my weakest points. When I'm at that weakest point in my life, I know God's right there to pull me up, just like the footprint prayer, but it's when it becomes a reality for you, and it's not just something you're reading in a prayer. I mean,
Yes.
it's really, it's a powerful experience.
Absolutely. And I will say, even from my side of the space, and the reason that I started this podcast, we were talking about a little bit, those of you who listen, I lost a child. And I will say that God does have a way of bringing things into your life that give you comfort and allow you to say, okay, you know what, it's going to be okay. He's with me. Just like you said, I love the poem about the footprints in the sand. Is that what it's called?
Yeah.
It's been a while since I've read it, but it's phenomenal. It talks about, I said, basically, where is God? And I didn't see him. I only saw one set of footprints, and that one I carried you. And that's just such a heartwarming idea that's, you're not going through these things alone. Yes, we are told that we're going to have to deal with circumstances. Just because we're Christians doesn't mean that we're absolved of anything and everything that goes on, and we're going to have perfect lives. And to the contrary, we go through situations. But what the difference is that the Lord is standing there with us. He's walking with us. He's carrying us. He's helping us to persevere and helping us grow through those situations. You and I talked about the fact that not only were you able to snap out of it, say, hey, enough is enough. I want to follow the Lord. I want to get better. But now you're kind of going back to that other side of the spectrum, not into the area of temptation, but in a space to where you're building, right? You're building back to the financial and emotional and spiritual wealth. Can you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah. So, like I said, along that way, I lost my way with not just spirituality, but emotionally, financially. I went from literally Park Avenue making 7 figures a year to pretty much broke, and to be able to be resilient and bounce back to now, making 7 figures plus again, and having, that emotional and spiritual side built with it. I mean, I build it every day. It's never done being built for me. And to have that, I mean, it's a blessing, and it's a gift that I've been given. And, that's why I've started my Reforge Academy, because it's a gift that I got to give it back. If I don't give it back, I'm being selfish, so because if I could do it, anybody else can do it also, so just because you're out there to whoever's listening, whoever might be in a struggle and be in the midst of that struggle. I mean, I urge you not to give up, because there's better times to come. If you don't give up, you can't lose if you don't quit. You only lose once you quit, no matter how down you are in life.
Absolutely. And, God wants us to persevere. In scripture, it tells us that he wants us to persevere. And so, like you said, the only time that you don't persevere is when you don't keep going, when you give up. When you are building everything back, do you have to be careful? Do you have to say, hey, I need to stay humble? Are you concerned at all that you could get back to that point? How difficult is it to stand in that gratitude of the gift that God has given you of another chance?
Wow. I mean, that's a great question. I got to tell you that I gratitude comes out of my pores every day. I mean, literally, like it's the way I start every single day when I wake up. When I wake up in the morning, because listen, I had a routine of going out there and getting high, right? Every day I was chasing that high. I had to change that routine, and putting the drugs and alcohol down. That's kind of the easy part. The work really begins when you peel the onion back and you start changing yourself, changing your routine, changing your habits. And that's where I had to really make changes to be able to get to where I am now. And gratitude is definitely at the top of that list. I wake up every single morning and I have a moment of gratitude. It started off as 1 to 5 minutes, then 5 to 10 minutes. Now today, there's days where it lasts about an hour because I have so much to be grateful for. And I always keep that gratitude in front of me. And it definitely helps me stay humble. And it definitely, because listen, this could be all gone in the blink of an eye from whatever it may be, right? So I always have to take that into consideration and take that moment to be thankful for what I have, because, you know, there's somebody out there right now who's struggling that maybe lost everything they had, you know? So me keeping that gratitude in front of me, it keeps it fresh, and being able to help people keeps it fresh also, because I'm able to see that what they're going through and being able to give that back and help them. It definitely helps me stay humble and stay in line.
Definitely. You're what I consider kind of over a hump as far as, like I said, addiction is like this black hole that keeps sucking you in. All right. And so, being an addiction, that it's not easy to recover. I don't know what your recovery story is, but I do know a lot about other people and other addiction that even if it starts with the will, right? It starts with that desire to get better. But there is a propensity for relapse fairly easily if you hang out in certain spaces or, whatever that temptation may be. So if you were talking to someone who was right in the middle of it, maybe they've made that decision that they want to get better, but they're like, man, you're already over it. You're already kind of over that hump. But here I am, and I'm sitting here, and it's scary. It's hard. I don't believe that, tomorrow I may be okay today, but tomorrow it might be worse. Do you have any encouragement for that person? And also, how can they get help? What if maybe I should ask that question in a minute. First of all, do you have any encouragement for that person who wants help, wants to get better, but really doesn't see that their life could be like yours, that they could have that same turnaround that you had?
That's a great question. And for me to answer, the answer I'm going to give is really like the opposite of what I'm all about, right? Because I'm so about like, building your future, creating an action plan, thinking ahead. But when it comes to what you're talking about now, just keep it in today. Don't worry about what tomorrow is. Worry about today. Get sober for today, and also, and that goes for any vice. It's not just alcohol and drugs, right? Because my vice was drugs and alcohol, but somebody else could be gambling, sex, overeating. There's so many shopping. There's so many different vices we have that create those character defects, right? So when you're looking to overcome that, one thing I would say is work on it for today. Worry about for today, and also have a support group. Build a support network, because listen, Jim Rohn said it best, right? You're the average of the 5 people that you hang out with the most. So if you're hanging out with people that are doing the right thing, people that are sober, people that are successful, guess what? Chances are you're going to become successful. It's the old saying, like if you go to a barbershop, you hang out there 5 days in a row, eventually you're going to get a haircut. So it kind of goes the same way.
Definitely. And, I had a guest on a few episodes back where we talked about, she actually read I think it's called Just for Today. It's something that is in AA meetings or something like that. And we can actually post that again here in the show notes. We posted it before, but it talks about, have you ever heard of that?
Yeah, I've heard of that.
Yeah. Okay. So from my understanding, it talks about, just like what you're saying, focus on what's going on right in front of your eyes and don't be overly concerned about what's going on in the future, because you're going to deal with what's in front of you right now. And the other thing is, and you mentioned it, support groups. Okay. So support groups could be like where you kind of go in and you sit in like AA or whatever, like you said, it's not just alcohol and drugs. It could be eating. It could be shopping, gambling. It could even be relationships, but you find a place that can support you. What if you don't have immediate support, like family and friends? Maybe your family and your friends are part of the problem. Do you have any encouragement and advice for people who say, you know what, everywhere I go, people that I am around are not those 5 people. They're not the 5 people that I need to be around. They're not the 5 people that I need to be. What can they do when there's not an option to move out of their home, or there's not an option? Well, we can choose our friends, but just let's say maybe there's certain places and situations that they feel like they don't have a choice.
So, I mean, look, I understand that circumstances around you can be difficult, right? But we always have that power of choice. It's always been a blessing that it's one of the greatest blessings we were gifted with. And, you know, we might not be able to choose, you know, who we're living with at that moment, but you can choose how you create your circle. So if your inner circle isn't what's helping you, then go out of your comfort zone, create a circle and find that circle that's going to be able to be that for you. You mentioned AA meetings. You could go to AA meetings. You could go to Gamblers Anonymous. You can go to somewhere where people uplift you. It doesn't even have to be a 12-step program. It can be somewhere where you're going to get uplifted with people that have something that you want. So if you're chasing sobriety, go where people have sobriety. You know, when I was out there using, right, I got sober, I had to change my surroundings of who I hung out with. I hung out with people that were sober. And then after that, you know, to build a 7-figure business again, I had to go out and surround myself with people who were making 7 figures plus again, and be able to ask them, because you want to find out what those people's struggles are, because this way you don't go back and you learn from their mistakes and you're able to continue to grow that way. As long as we're progressing every day, that's the big one, is just make sure you progress every single day.
Absolutely. All right. So Joe, do you have any maybe final encouragement for people out there who are over that hump and they are trying to progress every day and they're trying to rebuild, and maybe they want to look to you for some encouragement?
Yeah, I mean, keep moving forward, and remember, legends aren't built off of just their successes. They're built off of how they overcome adversity. And if you keep moving forward to overcome that adversity, I mean, sky's the limit.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So I keep telling my son, you need to have heroes who have failed, because what is in it is not that they have failed or they have had success, but that they stood back up, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
I love that. So Joe, can you tell everybody where they can find you, please?
Sure. You can follow me on Instagram at W_Joe_Rivera. My website is withjoerivera.com. And also, if you sign up, if you come to me today, I'll add a free session in. I mean, you already get a free discovery call, but I'll also add an additional free session for anybody that comes and sends an email or gets in contact with me today.
Okay, sounds fantastic. Thank you so much. And for all of you out there, continue to be blessed and bless others, and we'll see you next time. Thanks,
Awesome,
Joe.
God. Thank you. God bless. Have a great day.
Are you looking to enhance your homeschool curriculum by learning about the Holy Land, or maybe you're just interested in learning more about Israel yourself? ARTSA has a subscription box that takes you on a journey through the Holy Land. Each quarter, they feature a different city in Israel and tell its story past and present, while sourcing amazing items not found anywhere else from 7 to 8 local artisans. ARTSA provides a mix of food, gifts, and magnificent content that delivers the Holy Land to your doorstep, all while supporting the small businesses and people who call the Holy Land home. Grab your code in the show notes for 25% off of your ARTSA box. ARTSA Christina Reisinger. That's ARTZA KRISTINA RISINGER. And I want to thank you for joining us on Faith Breathed Hope, where you gain inspiration and motivation to renew hope and discover purpose in any circumstance. Please like and share this podcast and give us a review on iTunes. Be blessed.